MyMac Podcast 926. Sick and tired.
And welcome, everyone, to the MyMac.com podcast. And I have no idea what this show is going to be like this week, and we'll get into why in just a little bit. Well, it has been a very interesting week with calamity after calamity occurring, and I'm very tempted to say thank you, since not much else is really going on for us to talk about. So instead of, hey, how about those new HomePods that look amazingly like the ones Apple had before, or should I get a new Mac now or wait until the M3 miniPro UltraMax comes out? We're going to talk about what you do when you have the worst week ever without it really being like life-threatening or anything, because that would really, really suck. Gaz is not with me, as you can tell. It's begun. It has begun. Gaz is not with me today because he is off doing fun things instead of this. And instead, I have roped Mr. Karl Madden into joining me today and listening to me. And I was nearly fine pre-show. Everything was cool and groovy. And as soon as we hit the record button to get started, Karl, it's like, okay, time for Guy's latest coughing fit. How are you?
I am very well, unlike yourself, Guy, and thank you for inviting me along to this coffin fest. So,
it's going to be so much fun.
Cough.
So much
sputter.
fun. Sputter. What have you got going on lately?
Just work, mainly, all the time. Getting up at freezing o'clock in the morning and going to work and working all day and then coming home, doing a show, as always. Mac and Forth is still kicking along out there. Took 2 weeks off recently, but now we're back, and I couldn't go another week without the MyMac show on a Monday morning. So obviously, if Gaz is away, I'm going to have to step in and do it myself.
Yeah, well, and then you get to hear yourself, because isn't that fun?
Yeah, great.
Sometimes. Most of what is going to be the meat and potatoes of the show this week is going to be all the stuff that has happened to me over the last 2 weeks. There's a reason why that I didn't do a show with Gaz last week, and we will get into all of that, and it's not just one thing. It was multiple things that went completely and totally wrong. And it's still kind of going on right now.
Is this the inspiration you pulled from the play that goes wrong, the podcast that goes wrong? Is that
pretty much? And we're actually going to that in.
I know, that's why I bring it up.
April. April. We're going up to New York. It's going to be my son Peter and his fiancée. His friend Jake and his new bride-to-be. By the time we go to this thing, they're getting married next month. And of course, Tracy and I. And we're all going to go to New York and see the play that goes wrong with the original cast, which is part of the. I mean, because the play itself is wonderful. It's so funny, and you can see, depending on whether they've taken it down lately or not, you can kind of see it if you look for it over on YouTube, because they also did the Christmas Carol that goes wrong and Peter Pan goes wrong. And Peter Pan goes wrong is what we're actually going to see when we go up there. But it's going to be brilliant. And those people are like, snap, so good. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And hold on to your hats, folks. I'm actually on a different microphone this week.
What?
I know, gasp in amazement. And for people who remember back, not even 2 months ago, one of my New Year's resolutions was that I wasn't going to buy microphones.
Epic fail.
Oh, such an epic fail. And the crazy part is the microphone that I'm using today is the baby brother to the one that I've had for a while that I really like, which is, and you won't see this unless you watch it on video, which you'll find over on the Vert Shark channel on YouTube, youtube.com. is this right here. This is the Lewitt 440 Pure. And the one I'm using today is its baby brother, the 240 Pro, which is about $100 less than the 440. And it's a very attractive microphone. It looks, the one I have looks just like it, except it's white instead of black. And I was kind of playing around with it last night, and it sounds pretty good. I still like it. But that's the mic that I'm using this week. And, I still, of course, have all the other ones, but that's what I'm using this week.
So I have to ask, because I always...
Of course you do.
What are you searching for? What is the ultimate sound that you're searching for?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that question.
I thought you just frozen on the screen there to double check. Yeah.
No.
So what is it? What is missing from all these microphones you have that you feel the need? It's like a psychiatry thing, isn't it? So just lay back on the couch there, Guy, for a moment. So what is it you're actually searching for, sir? What is the ultimate microphone?
I have a lot of really nice microphones. I've got, the one that all the podcasters, if you listen to the podcasting gurus, they'll sit there and say, oh, well, the ultimate microphone is obviously the Shure SM7B. Okay, well, I got one. I also have a Heil PR40, which is a dynamic, wonderful sounding mic. I've got the Rode NT1, which is a wonderful sounding condenser mic. I've got the Lewitt LCT 440. I've got the Lewitt LCT 240. There's really not like any particular thing that I'm looking for in a microphone. I can't actually answer that question. I don't know what it is.
I think you need to start checking if there's a Mike's Anonymous out there, I think.
Yeah, what would that be called? MAA? Microphones Anonymous. No, it'd just be MA.
Which kind of works. But yeah. So, well, there you go. Well, it's a hobby, I guess. Costly hobby, obviously. But then a lot of blokes' hobbies are, I suppose, at the end of the day. At least you're not collecting classic cars or something. So,
plastic cars. Yeah, that would not be a good thing. I don't have... Do I have Gaz's Snippets music? I don't think I do. My setup is all kind of messed up, which we'll go into that a little bit later. But I guess we'll just fake a Gaz's Snippets intro. Dun dun dun. All right. Don't have a whole lot here because it's actually been relatively quiet as far as Apple goes. We had the big financial announcement 2 weeks ago. And, lo and behold, they made more money. Who would have guessed that? But some of these snippets, I think I put in here just because they cracked me up. Here's the first one, and God love analysts. If it wasn't for analysts, I just wouldn't have enough anger in my life. One of them is saying that a new leak of the iPhone 15 shows that it will be rounder and have thinner bezels, as well as USB-C. That was something... Go ahead.
So what does it mean by rounder? What? Bigger curves on the corner or something?
Yeah.
It's a rectangle.
And if you actually looked at the headline in the story through Apple News, it was like, well, this is like amazing. Wow, it's going to be rounder, and the little black part that borders the edges will be thinner. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Really? It's going to be a black slab, just like it's been a black slab since the very first one came out.
Well, we know it's got to have USB-C in it because that's being mandated now, especially in Europe and stuff like that. So that's not a surprise. And it's probably long overdue as well. I don't know what the Lightning does that the USB-C doesn't, but not much I can imagine.
I think it makes I think it makes more money for Apple with accessories.
Maybe. But I know a lot of people get ready for all the moaning articles about, I can't believe I've got to change all my Lightning things now for my iPhone. Even though it's now mandated.
Yeah. And regardless of that, honestly, Apple should have done it probably 4 years ago. When the 10 came out, when the iPhone 10 came out, is when they should have switched to USB-C.
And it makes more sense now.
It does.
Because you're shooting bigger video files, and like the lightning throughput isn't that high compared to USB-C, for example, and you know.
Well, to me, it's just more along the lines of, you know, we're trying to get to a connector that we use for everything. And that wasn't going to be Lightning, and it wasn't going to be the 30 pin, and it wasn't going to be SCSI, and it's not going to be, you know, USB-A, because, you know, who wants a phone that thick? And USB-C / Thunderbolt is kind of, honestly, the perfect connector. It's bidirectional. You can't plug it in incorrectly. And it's got great throughput, and it's small, it's light, it fits. Everything uses it. You know, there's no ambiguity as far as, well, you know, this is an Apple only thing, or this is a Samsung only thing, or this is a whatever only thing. It's just one of those connectors that just works with everything. And Apple should have done it 2-3 years ago, easily. And they didn't, because Lightning makes them more money. Really. And again, that's what it comes down to. Apple is going to do whatever Apple wants to do that makes them more money. This is what big companies do. So I don't think that should be a big surprise to anyone.
The ones that don't go out of business.
Yeah. It's like, we're sticking to our guns, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we don't care. Who cares? And, you know, 6 months later, going out of business sale. All right. Apple not jumping into AI chat as fast as analysts would like. And
Good.
For those who don't understand what this means, there's a program. There's a couple different programs, but one of the big ones is called Chat GPT, and it's basically, it's kind of an AI test. And you actually, and this on a somewhat unrelated note, one of the things that Karl does on the aforementioned Mac and Forth show, when they talk about, when people call into the show, or, you know, leave feedback or stuff like that, if there isn't any, you play a particular little song. And do you have that handy?
Oh yeah, caught me off guard there.
I know, sorry. This is the song.
This is copyright music, though.
Well, you know, we'll find out. But
let's talk over it. It's okay. But it's one bit in particular that's coming up right now. Here it comes.
Oh. There it is, right there. It's painful. It is so very painful. Basically, the guy who recorded it hit a wrong note, and for whatever reason, they left it in there. And you actually went to Chat GPT and asked that question. And without going all the way into it, what was Chat's response to that?
Well, it was Dean. Dean decided to test it out and ask that question, why is there a bum note in the Hulk theme music? And he gave this long list, and he said about they had a full band in there and a string quartet or trio or something, a jazz trio, I think it was. But the composer actually done the piano solo himself, and he says they reckoned he'd done it separately from everybody else. And due to time constraints, even though they made the mistake, they just decided apparently to leave it in, according to Chat GPT. Now, all I can guess is that's gone out there on the web and found a story and then put it into a nice presentable format to offer us as a fake human being on the other side of the screen. And that's what, you know, we talked about Chat GPT on our show this week. And although it's clever technology and stuff, it's just smoke and mirrors as far as I'm concerned. Every response it gives is very generic. Like, we asked it to write a load of 5-star reviews for the Mac and Forth show.
Oh, really?
And it basically just spills out like 10 generic reviews. And to test this, I did one for the MyMac show, and it was basically the same thing. It was like an Apple podcast. The hosts are informative and, you know, entertaining and stuff like this. So it's just taking like generic phrases and adding them to, you know, specific points of whatever you ask it. So, I mean, it's clever, but it's not groundbreaking as far as I'm aware.
And obviously, it's never actually listened to the MyMac.com podcast.
Otherwise, it'll tell you to chuck one.
Yeah. What is it? No, it's not a good show. Don't listen to them. So and I actually, to be fair, I haven't actually tried it, but I'm now curious. So I will.
We'll pull it up now. Google it.
Sorry?
Do it now. Do it live. Do it on the show. Do it live, damn it. Do it on the show.
Okay, well, how do I get
Google.
to it? How do I get to it?
Go open Google, open the browser,
Uh-huh.
search for ChatGPT, and it should come up, first result. And then you can literally just ask it a question.
Okay. Well, there it is right there. That was fast. Try ChatGPT.
Yeah. So down the bottom, there's
verify that I'm a human. Okay.
Sorry.
Log in with your open AI. Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. You got to log in with your Google details and stuff.
Okay. Well, let's see if it'll let me.
Just do that, and then you're in, and literally just ask it a question randomly about something. I don't know.
Well, it's verifying that I'm a human.
Again,
that's so weird. You know, why would a AI chat care that whether or not I was a human?
Do you let it refer to itself as an AI? Are you making
now
it
it wants
confirm
to?
it's an AI
for God's
chat?
sake!
Oh dear!
This is like
pulling teeth. But yeah, like I say, if you do manage to get in, it is kind of fun. But the way some people are writing it up, it's like the second coming. And you think, no. But there are two versions out there. There's the one Microsoft are doing, and there's the one Google are doing, which I think is more Chat GPT. And but the Microsoft one is having an existential crises. Every time people talk to it, it's like becoming self-aware. It seems it's kind of funny, and it's insulting people and threatening them as well, and getting them to say all kinds.
Well,
of
it is
stuff.
Microsoft. You know, I mean,
well, yeah.
What hardcore Microsoft user doesn't enjoy?
Oh, here he goes.
Yeah, doesn't enjoy a good threat every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm up. I'm in Chat GPT finally. Oh, and I can upgrade to Plus.
No. So let's see. What do you know about?
Okay, this is what I'm going to add. This is the first question I'm going to ask. Why should I use Chat GPT? Chat GPT can be a helpful tool for a variety of reasons. Here are a few. Quick and easy access to information. It can provide answers to questions. You can ask a question and get immediate response without having to search for the information yourself. 24/7 availability, impartiality, and I'm not reading everything it's saying here. Ability to learn and adapt, versatility. Holy crap. I was complaining about word salad earlier. It's like you just don't know when to shut up. I just asked. Overall, using ChatGPT can be convenient, efficient, and reliable way to get the information you need. So now I'm going to put in sod off. I'm sorry if I said something that upset you. Is there anything I can help you with?
See, it reminds me.
Oh my God! I'm
sorry.
For him
to come back. It reminds me of those text adventures when we were young, and we didn't have graphics
Eliza.
on the screen.
That's what it was. Eliza.
Oh, Eliza. Okay. But
isn't that what it was called?
I have no idea. I don't recall that far back. I don't recall last week, to tell you the truth. But anyway, it's technically interesting, and it's better probably than searching on Google. But again, same limitations. Never trust totally what Google tells you. And it's only pulling in the same kind of information, but in a more presentable way, shall we say. For example, ask it what's the best microphone for podcasting. See what it comes up with.
Ooh, that is a good question.
And then it'll be your quest over and done with if you've got it. So,
what is the best microphone for podcasting? I bet it's going to be one I don't have.
Yeah.
Choosing the best microphone for podcasting can depend upon a few factors.
Oh, God.
Budget, recording environment, personal preferences. Here are a few popular options. Shure SM7B, Audio Technica AT2035, which I sort of have. Rode PodMic, I've got that. And it's giving me like the reasons why it would pick some of these different mics. Blue Yeti. Oh, now I know you. This is not an intelligent. Don't use a Blue Yeti for podcasting. It's worth noting that there are many other high-quality microphones available for podcasting, and the best microphone for you will depend on your specific needs and preferences. It can be helpful to do some research and read reviews from other podcasters to find a microphone that will work well for you.
See, it couldn't be any more generic.
Yeah. You know, and because I don't have the 2035, but I do have the 3035. And that's an important distinction.
Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Moving on from ChatGPT, I'm actually going to leave that up because I'm going to play around with that later. That sounds like oodles of fun. All right. The next one is the rumor that the iPhone 15 will be buttonless. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a possibility, isn't it? If they make a lot of solid state buttons on other things. So the only thing is, if they do that, how are you going to reset your iPhone when it goes totally mad?
How are you going to turn it on or off?
Exactly. I mean, it's got to be something to it. I mean, obviously the trackpad on MacBooks now are just a solid thing that feels really weird when it's off because you get so used to that haptic feedback. But yeah, if every single button is just a solid state button on the iPhone, you can do the reset where you press that combination. Considering, because I'm assuming that the phone's messed up and not responding, and that's why you've got to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it does. I mean, there's got to be at least one button someplace, a physical button to turn something on, turn something off. I mean, other than that, like let's say that you run out of power. What do you do then? And the same kind of thing is like, well, it's not going to have any buttons and it's not going to have any ports. And it's like, for all I know, you're just sending me a slab of black plastic at some point.
And glass.
You came into my house in the middle of the night, took my phone away that worked, and left this black piece of plastic that now you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, obviously you're out of warranty and you have to buy a new one now. It's like, oh, okay. And you just go ahead and buy another damn phone.
I mean, it will look good if that's the case, if everything's like rigid and solid and like it only comes to life when you turn it on. I just hope someone, obviously they wouldn't release it without going, oh yeah, we can't resell it. That was a bit of a boo-boo, wasn't it? But I'm sure they would think about that. I'm just saying though, it will confuse a lot of the normies, shall we say.
It really would.
Because it's bad enough now. How do I resell it? I do what?
Like, I have to hit what combination?
You have to press that one and then that one, but not for long. Don't do it too long because that one.
Now, do it now.
Sometime. That's it.
Okay.
What could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely nothing. Next thing I've got. This is the last thing for Cass's snippets. Apple's, and I love this. This was a headline, and I'm going to tell you who wrote what magazine this was in. This was in Macworld magazine. An editor approved this headline in Macworld magazine, Karl. Mm-hmm. Apple's next big thing will arrive right on time, even if it's a few months late. What? What?
I mean, it makes sense, I guess, from the bleeding obvious point of view.
And what this is in regards to is the so far, and we can put this in the same category with the physical Apple TV set and the Apple Car and a few other things that people have been talking about. Apple is definitely going to make this, and they've got this huge thing set up to do this and that and blah, 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 blah. And it's the AR headset that no one at Apple thus far has confirmed that they're making in any way, shape, or form. And again, like the car, like the television set, you've got analysts that are coming out and go, oh, this is definitely like the big thing that Apple is working on. And I remember when they first started talking about the Apple Car, Gaz was under the impression that it was going to be a service.
Mm-hmm.
And as time has gone on and we've seen kind of where CarPlay is evolving into, I'm thinking it's going to be more along the lines of replacing everything in your dashboard with digital displays through CarPlay. So you'll be able to sit there and say, well, I want my speedometer to look like this, and I want my tach to look like this, and I want my oil pressure gauge here, and this, and or considering that the internal combustion engines seem to be disappearing faster than, well, I don't want to give that example. Battery monitoring for electric cars or what have you. All of your gauges will be set in such a way that you decide where they're going to be. And that makes more sense than anything that I've heard come from analysts in regards to Apple cars. And when you think about how poorly the layout is for most dashboards, and compare that to how poorly the layout was for most infotainment systems in cars before Android Auto and CarPlay, both Google and Apple kind of hit it out of the park with Android Auto and CarPlay. And who came first and who's stolen what design elements from the other, I don't really care. It's a better way of dealing with my car's infotainment system than anything I have ever seen from car manufacturers.
Yeah, but they weren't normally made by the manufacturers, were they? They were made by third parties and then sort of imported, like Pioneer or Technics or whatever. But and then they just put their badge over the top of it. But yeah. I mean, yeah, right. Actually, dashboards have got a lot more confusing over the last few years. All you need, really, is your speedo and your fuel gauge and your temperature of your engine. That's it. You don't really need anything else. Maybe, obviously, if you've got an electric car, you need to know what the battery charge is rather than the fuel gauge. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that when they showed off that next generation of CarPlay and it takes over the entire dashboard, you can take your favorite dash layout with you from one car to the next car and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Apple car was always like pie in the sky, maybe. But I think there's more like solid stuff for the AR because there are other AR things out there already, like obviously Meta and a few others as well. And
have you tried one?
Why Apple. Yeah, I've got one. There's one there in the background on the thing.
Do you use it much?
Yeah, of course I do. You play games and do little watch movies on it and stuff like that if I wish. There are practical reasons for it, but I don't know if they're going to be enough to supposedly warrant the suspected £3,000 or dollar price tag for this Apple variant that's coming out. And everything that was rumored, like the big rumors that came out a few weeks ago or months ago, none of them was specifically like impressive. I mean, it's got supposedly a lot of stuff in there that other headsets don't do, but then a lot of what they already do. So it's a weird thing to bring out, potentially, the AR headset from Apple. There's no reason why they shouldn't do it, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be the next big thing. But I said that about the Apple Watch, but now, everybody seems to have some sort of smartwatch on their wrist when you go around. Not necessarily an Apple Watch, but a Fitbit or a Google Time one or whatever they called. Can't remember. But
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a niche market now, and I don't see the potential there for Apple to make oodles and oodles of money on it. And that's all they seem to worry about these days. Like the big markets, they don't seem to worry about little markets anymore.
You've been talking about Apple or people talking about Apple?
No, I'm talking about Apple itself. I mean, okay, yeah, they bring out a 250 quid speaker, for example, and they know that's not going to be a big seller. They just want to put it out there because it does sound good, give them that, whatever.
Well, I've got some minis, and they sound, I've got 2 minis that I have paired up to my TV set, and they sound great. I think... Well, I've got these huge speakers that I used to use with a separate receiver and all the rest of that. And anytime I wanted to watch TV and, use this other thing, it was big and it was clunky. And now I just turn on the TV set, the speakers automatically pair with the Apple TV, and I get great sound.
I mean, look. You see, that's one half of my stereo set for my HomePods, the original HomePods there. The other one's off camera. But that works with that big screen you can see behind me and my Xbox there and various other things. And they all feed in through eARC and then out through the Apple TV, out to the HomePods. And it sounds great. All I'm saying, but I think even that speaker market is a bigger market than VR as it stands at the moment. That's all. Well, I mean, it's obviously going to happen at some point in our... if we're around
in our lifetime,
yeah. But I'm just not sure anything on the market is there to blow our socks off at the moment. I could be wrong. They know their business far more than I do.
Let's face it. We're talking really about the gaming market, which is a big market, but it's not like an iPhone market, and it's not like a TV market. That, where everyone is going to want one of these things. And if all you're talking about, and I don't want to sound flippant, if all you're talking about is the relatively small gaming market as compared to something like the phone market, then it's not going to be all of that, because not everybody wants to game, especially... As because there's definitely here's part of the problem is that there's a demographic for gaming, and the typical gamer market is going to be from early teens to probably late 20s. That's where your bell curve is going to be the biggest. And as people get older, and I'm I love playing games, but I don't think I'm the target market for something like AR. I don't think you're the target market for something like AR. They're looking at the teens to 20s as being probably the biggest target market for something like an AR headset. So how do you fit that, cost wise? How do you fit it so that somebody in their teens to 20s can afford it, along with all of the accessories and all of the games and everything else that's going to go with it, as compared to what they already have, which is an Xbox or a PlayStation or something along those lines? Because not everyone is going to be able to jump in with both feet all of these different little segmented parts of the market. So if you already have a PlayStation 20, are you going to be interested in jumping into the Apple or Microsoft AR headset if it doesn't work with the PlayStation, or if it doesn't work with the Xbox, or if it doesn't work with Apple's whatever? And we've seen already that Apple's Arcade, while fun, is not the same type of market that hardcore gamers are looking for.
Actually, it's a bigger market than the others. It's just a different user
demographic
base than the others. Yeah. Exactly. So, it's got millions and millions and millions of users, but obviously the games are not AAA games or anything like that. So, I understand it. But
casual games.
Yeah, and you're right. If they want to apply to the Call of Duty players and things like that, for example, or the FIFA players and whatnot like that, then Apple's gonna have to let go of their control, and that's something I don't see them doing anytime soon.
What?
No. But it's, there's other aspects, like you can watch a movie with it with friends and stuff like that. But I always find that a bit of an odd thing, because you don't end up watching a movie. You end up chucking things at each other in cyberspace, which is what me and my mates did. So it kind of defeats the object of going to the movies. You go to the movies not to be sociable. Well, you do, but that's before and afterwards. It's not during the movie. You're meant to sit there and watch the flipping screen. And if you talk while watching it, you're in trouble. Anyway, but apart from that. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's been pushed back apparently to be released or unveiled at WWDC this year. We'll see. It's not far. If they push it back again, we'll know. It's all smoke and mirrors again. So
yeah, well, you'll have some of the various analysts going, well, it was going to come out this, but there's all kinds of reasons why, and I'm going to put out 14 different articles saying why. It's like, oh, shut up. Just shut up. You don't know.
If Apple think they've cracked it, they'll pull it out. So,
well, and even if they think they cracked it but really haven't, then they'll put it out anyway, and we'll see what happens with it.
Well, yeah, they've done all the work. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Dun, dun, dun. That's pretty much the end of Gaz's snippets, and this went on much longer than I thought it was going to for those four little things that I had.
Stories.
I know. It was like, what did I have? I had, something's going to be buttonless. AI chat, round phones, and the next big thing. And we've gotten quite a bit of content out of that. So yay us. Yay. All right. But on to I guess you could call it the main thing that we're going to talk about today. And that has been my completely crap week that's been going on. And it all kind of started. Now, today is Sunday the 19th, which means that last Saturday was the 11th. I think. Whatever last Saturday was, not counting the Saturday that just happened, but the one before that. I got up and Gaz and I, we were, talking about recording, and then all of a sudden, my M1 Mac Mini just crashed and blinked out, came back, and it was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what happened there. And I got this, do you want to report this to Apple, with like an entire 2 to 3 pages of stuff that it's like, I have no idea what any of this means, but it's like, sure, send it off to Apple. And then it happened again and again and again and again. And then finally it blinked out, and instead of coming back up, the little LED that's at the front of the all of the Mac Minis started pulsing orange. And it was like, I'm not an expert at these things, but I think that this is bad. So nothing I could do. I actually went and, have you ever heard of a program called Configurator from Apple?
Yeah.
One of the things that I found online to try was to erase and reset the firmware on your computer. And you can do that with Configurator. So I tried that. It didn't work. And it's like, okay, well, maybe there's something on something in storage that's not quite right. And I've got lots of backups. So I said, I'll wipe my storage and then restore. And it got about halfway through doing that and then stopped. And it was like, okay, don't know what's wrong here, but it is so far beyond anything that I can do. And this kind of begs the question, now in the past, with discrete components inside of computers, we could sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to bring this USB stick that has an operating system on it, and I'm going to boot from the USB stick, and I'm going to see if that works. And if that doesn't work, then I'll take out one of the RAM sticks. It's a process that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
But with the release of the M series computers, you can't do that anymore. It doesn't work because everything is integrated onto its system on a chip. Everything is integrated onto the main motherboard of the computer. And
Mm-hmm.
I made an appointment with a local Apple store and took the computer down there and told him everything I'd done, everything that I tried to do. And the guy just like plugged it into a monitor and he looked and saw the blinking light. And he's like, oh, okay, that's motherboard failure. And it's like, oh, okay, well, how long will that take to replace? And he says, well, you have a custom configuration. And I said, well, not really. It's 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And it's like, yeah, but the normal configuration is 8 gigs of RAM and either 256 or 512 gigs of storage. Right. So they had to send off to Cupertino to get a new motherboard for my M1, the Mac Mini. And so I came back here and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Now I have, and it's what's actually currently hooked up. I have, and it's actually a more powerful computer. It's the 16-inch MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM. It's the M1 Pro chip instead of the regular M1.
Wow.
And a 1 terabyte internal storage. But I'd never used it in this configuration with like 2 screens and all the rest of that. And it took me a little bit, but I managed to get everything up and working. And then I had to reconfigure all of the programs, including my work setup, because I wasn't going to get the Mac Mini back until Thursday or Friday of last week. And in the middle of all this, I'm starting to feel like crap. And it's like, this is not good. This is not a good combination. And we had a couple of COVID tests here in the house. Went ahead, took the test, came back positive for COVID. And somehow, through 2 years of a pandemic, with me going outside all of the time, going to work every single day, because I was the only one that lived relatively close, never caught it. The way I caught it, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how and where I caught COVID. After all of that, 2 years of a pandemic, going to the grocery stores, going to pharmacies, going to work, I went to Chicago. I've been to Florida twice. Nothing. Went to New York. Nothing. The way I caught it, 2 weeks ago, I went bowling with some guys from work. One of the guys reported, and I didn't know this, reported on Friday that he'd come down with COVID. And when he reported that to the other guys, one of the other guys was like, yeah, I just tested positive too. And that Thursday, because we bowled on Wednesday, that Thursday, I had spent the entire day with one of the guys where he came back positive the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called me not on Friday, not on Saturday. He waited until Sunday to call me and tell me, oh yeah, I have COVID. And it's like, why wouldn't you tell me that when you found out that you had it and we had spent all this time together? No, he waited until Sunday. So it's like, son of a... Ugh. So I tested and yep, I came back positive for COVID, which made setting up this MacBook Pro for work very, very important because it hadn't been set up for that before. But as it turned out, it actually didn't matter because what I did most of that entire week was sleep. It was like I would just be sitting there with 2 screens going on and I'm logged into work and it seemed like I just closed my eyes for just a second and 2 hours have gone by. None of my screens are still there. The whole computer's fallen back asleep and it's like, God. So, I basically all I ended up doing as far as work goes, I checked my email in the morning. And if there was anything important that I had to deal with, I dealt with that. And then I pretty much just logged off for the rest of the day. So I took the entirety of last week I'm just using for sick. using sick leave, and that's fine because I've got like 200 plus hours of sick time coming to me, so it's not like it's not covered. But the thing that really irks me, amongst so many other things, is I had actually bought tickets to see an XFL game tonight, local here to Washington, D.C. The D.C. Defenders were going to play the Seattle Sea Dragons. He's like, okay. And this was going to be their first game of the season, and they're playing at Audi Field, which is normally a soccer/football stadium for DC United here. And now I can't go, and it's too late to sell the tickets back. So I'm kind of screwed. Now I'll still be able to see the game because it's going to be on, through streaming on TV, but it's not the same thing. And of course, the money that I spent on these tickets is now just gone. So
that's weird because we go to work. We've got it over here. You're still going to work now. Those restrictions have all gone. In fact, they told us specifically, if you get it now, you still come into work. You're not getting any time off unless you're really, really ill. So, yeah, obviously different in different countries. We go out all the time. People go out all the time with COVID at the moment over here. I mean, I've had it twice so far. Third time suspected, but I didn't bother testing it at all because what's the point? If I've got it, I've got it. If I haven't, no big deal. So, just had a sore throat for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Well, I know some people it gets them really bad, obviously, but yeah.
Well, they don't want people coming in if they're still. We have to have, I think, 2 negative tests before they'll let us come back in.
Yeah,
and Tracy, Tracy tested this morning because I went and got like a 5-pack of tests because we ran out. She tested this morning and it came back like barely positive. That T line was like really, really faint.
That's good.
And so I'm going to test tomorrow morning. There's no point in me testing today because if she still has it, then chances are I still have it. So I will test tomorrow. And again, sorry for any coughing. I did manage to hit the mute button once in the recording of the show, so it wasn't like this big long coughing fit. But I just found that because Gaz and I, and I'm sure you have as well, have been singing the praises of these M Series Macs because they're just so fast compared to what the Intel stuff that they were using before. And for whatever reason, and I kind of poo-pooed the whole, well, I can't add my own RAM and I can't add my own storage because, RAM with these particular chips isn't as important as it was with the Intel chips. Storage, of course, is still important, but you can plug in storage from other sources. It's not that big of a deal. But this was the very first time that I ran into this. Well, my computer's broken and there is absolutely nothing that I can do.
But that's not necessarily, that's because it's the logic board that went. I mean, the logic board went on my dad's iMac, the Intel one, from when they started putting fusion drives in. I can't remember from exactly when that
2014, 15, something like that.
Yeah, but a few years ago, his one went, and it was the logic board. It's just gone. There's nothing you can do about it apart from replace or get another replacement for the logic board. It's just one of those things. And you're right. Okay, everything is now on that logic board, granted, under the M1, the RAM and everything. But if there's the logic board that's gone, it's gone. I suppose if you're into real technical repairs, you can get down and dirty with it and replace it with something else, maybe. But I think we've just got, as because obviously you're a hobbyist and I was a hobbyist, and we came up through computers, and we came up from the ones we just bought. In my case, a ZX Spectrum and stuff where you couldn't really do much with that anyway. But through the VIC 2064, PCs, and then we started not only learning how to use the software, we started learning how all the bits fit together, and motherboards and RAM and hard drives and all this, and we made ourselves wizards to anyone that didn't know how to do this sort of stuff. And of course now it's moved on to such an extent that we can no longer do it, unfortunately, because it's so small and like down deep in the mechanics of the actual board itself that it's beyond us now. Even though we technically know what might have gone wrong, there's no way we can fix it. And that's just progress, I'm afraid. Like, I can't, if that telly goes wrong, I can't fix it in a million years. If our washing machine goes wrong, I can't fix it in a million years. So, I mean, that's progress, unfortunately.
To be fair, there's a difference between your washing machine and a television set, because there are still physical attributes of a washing machine that are repairable as compared to
But you can repair the keys on your keyboard, for example. Well, you can replace the entire keyboard. It's turned out on the butterflies. But you know, I understand what you're saying. But I think, okay, you've got a bum logic board there, unfortunately, and there's always going to be problems, which is why we get like a couple years in this country, like cover. But yeah, I mean, it is frustrating because in the old days you probably could have fixed it with tinkering around with certain parts of the hardware. But that's all going. You know, we can't claim on one hand, this is wonderful, look how fast and all the things it can do. And then on the other hand, when it all goes horribly wrong, going, no, it's rubbish, it's crap. I want to be able to fix it myself. Right? So we can't have it both ways, unfortunately.
I think I can.
Well,
I can complain about it.
You have every right to complain. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you haven't got that right. But we have to accept that if we want to move forward, these are the limitations that us as individual users are going to start running into, you know, and it's a shame, but then the trade-off is quite worth it. I mean, if you're living on the edge and like money's an issue, then obviously it's not, but that's a whole different, story. But it's totally frustrating when your machine goes down and you're stuck. And luckily, you've got another machine. I mean, in the old days, I didn't have two Commodore 64s just knocking around. On the off chance.
Oh well, that one's gone. I'll just plug this one in instead.
Exactly.
Didn't work.
So it is amazing. I mean, I look around me now, and there is literally dozens of computers in various forms I've got in this house, all doing specific things. I got one running upstairs, a mini in the attic, running a server for entertainment and stuff. I got this one here in front of me for podcasting. I've got another one somewhere else doing something as well. I've got iPads, got phones. It's just mad. What are we doing?
Well, everything has become a computer, essentially.
Yes.
And that's back. You want, depending on how far back you want to go, when cell phones first came out and they were just like the flip type, well, that wasn't a computer. It was mostly just a receiver and a transmitter, and you did something crazy with it, like get phone calls or talk to somebody else while out and about. And now it's like these little computer slabs that sit in your pocket, and it's replaced 6 or 7 other things that you used to. I don't want to say had to carry around. But if you wanted to do some of these other things, you would have like cameras. Who carries DSLRs around anymore? Nobody.
I'll tell you what, I often think, like, was it back like this when the first computers started coming out, like the abacus? Did you get a guy come in and say, these beads are much more slidey on the thing up and down. Look, we'll upgrade.
Or the huge, the huge adding machines that had the big lever on the side and you go,
that's it.
Shunk, shunk. It's like, no, that got replaced by Excel. I mean, you were done with it. So it's insane that everything that we used to carry around separate devices for is now being done on a small little black slab that fits in our pockets. And
now, are you covered for your repair?
Yes. Yeah, I was covered until November. And so now I've got it back now, but I don't have it currently connected because I knew I was going to do the podcast today. And if I was going to go to all the trouble of making sure that I could use this for a podcast, I wasn't going to plug in basically a brand new computer, which is what it really is, that I haven't tested everything on yet to see if it's going to work. I'll probably do that at some point because if it's one of those things where if I can't go to work again next week, it's like, well, what am I going to do all day? I'm going to re-plug in the Mac Mini and get everything back the way it was when I first started. All right, well, we've beaten that to a pulp. So we're gonna move on to a really, really quick Gaz's tip.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
This is about as basic of a tip as I can possibly give. If you are in the Finder, use tabs. Use the tab interface on the Finder instead of having multiple versions of the Finder open. And in order to create more tabs without just finding the little button on the screen, you can just hold down the Command key and hit T. Command T will bring up as many tabs as you want in the Finder, and not only in the Finder, but in a lot of other programs as well. I think most browsers it's also Command T to bring up more tabs. And that's the tip I've got for today. What do you think about that, Karl? You nodding your head?
I tried it out and it works, so I am nodding my head. Then.
So much head nodding.
That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
There we go. I don't quite have Farrago set up the same way that I do with the Mac Mini, but it's close enough, damn it. It is close enough.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Yeah, that's my problem all the way around. Now, we have some helpful links. If you would go to timeout.com, or if you look at the links in the show notes, there's a list from timeout.com of helpful Ukrainian donation sites, as well as the two that will do the most good without having to, bend your brain around having to hit links all over the place. And that is the Ukrainian Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders. Those are two very, very good organizations that you can donate to if you so choose. I don't really have a for pick's sake this week. I don't think you do either, do you, Karl? You have anything you want to throw out there?
My new Xbox Series X, wonderful thing.
Oh, great! Yeah, that's cheap.
That's it. Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah, it's cheaper than it used to be for the COVID crisis when no one could get chips.
Well, nobody could get anything. If you have done an iTunes review or any kind of podcast review for this show, and under whatever platform it is that you get this show, let us know about it, because I don't monitor these things. And if you tell me about it, you will get something that is just so wonderful. Karl has one or two I do know, and that is called a Woo Tea. And if you need an explanation of what a Woo Tea is, it is a big W, big O, big T, little I, little E, exclamation mark, and that is a Woo Tea. And it will make your life so very different. Yes, exactly. That's exactly how that works. Now, Karl.
Yo.
If people wanted to get a hold of you and say, you fool, you let Guy talk you on to being on the show again, how would they do that?
You can get in touch with me on Twitter at Claw0101 or at macandforth as well over there on Twitter. Or you can find us at macandforth.com and find our podcast. If you search on your favourite podcatcher of choice, we should come up.
And if you'd like to get a hold of Gaz and say, where the hell were you this week? Guy is floundering. He's so floundering. But I do that pretty much every week. So if you want to get a hold of Gaz, his email address is gaz@mymac.com. That is Gaz.
Cars.
There we go. Yeah. He is also on both the Twitters and the Mastodons and the counter socials as Gazmaz, Gaz.
Cars.
MAZ.
Cars.
On all of those things. You can also send feedback, which will go to Fearless Leader Tim. That is FEEDBACK at mymac.com. Now, if you want to get a hold of me, so easy. That would be guy@mymac.com would be the email address. You can also reach me over on the Twitters as either Macparrot or Vert Shark over there on the Twitters. I am also on Counter Social and Mastodon as Macparrot. If you would like to see all of the videos, you can go on over to the Tubes of You and look up Vert Shark. That is my channel over there on the Tubes of You, and you can find all that stuff over there. I do have a website, vertshark.com, but I haven't done anything with it in a really, really long time because I'm a lazy git. That's exactly how that works. Now, we also have not one, but 2 telephone numbers that you can call, and so far only Marcus has been able to figure out how to use the Google Voice one, but the Skype one is 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501. If for some reason dialing a 1 or a +1 before a telephone number is just too much for you to handle, you can go right to the Skype application and just dial 703-436-9501. Our Google Voice number, which you can call from anywhere apparently, is 703-828-4677. That number again, 703-828-4677. And Karl, thank you. Thank you so very much for coming on to the show this week. I really, really do appreciate it. And
my pleasure, sir.
Putting up with my crazy nonsense. With all of that, I'd also like to say thank you. Thank you, all of you, for downloading and listening to the MyMac.com podcast. Don't just download. That's not good enough. You've got to listen too. And with having said all of that, Karl, I think that that this week we were good enough. And that this week we were smart enough. And that doggone it, woof, woof, wilf, wilf, woof, wilf. People like us. And because I still have Chat GPT open.
Oh, God.
I'm going to ask it to tell us a joke. Oh, did you have one?
I've still got to do my one.
Go ahead.
You know, I don't like people that take drugs, especially airport security. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, sorry.
Here he goes.
Here's one that ChatGPT gave us. Why did the tomato turn red?
I don't know. I can't remember. Damn it.
Because it saw the salad dressing.
Oh dear God.
That is just so bad. And with that, we're at the end.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on home and go home.